Hi, everybody. I'm Leafy Greenbrier, and he's Kate Bush. I'm Chris,
I wish. I'm Matt.
and this is Prince of Persia. You wish you were Kate Bush?
I don't know who Kate Bush is, to be honest.
Late 70s, early 80s recording artist. Look up some of her videos. They're interesting. They're
Okay,
interesting.
I'll do it.
She's one of those where if you love her, you're gonna love her, and if you don't, yeah, that tracks with a lot of other people.
Right. Do you love Kate Bush?
I don't. It's actually a quote from Bob's Burgers,
Oh,
where
I see.
Louise is hiding in a bush and her dad's looking for her and he's like, I'm not Louise. I'm Leafy Greenbrier. And regular size Rudy goes, and I'm Kate Bush.
That's wonderful. Wonderful program.
Wonderful program. Can't recommend it enough. But that has nothing to do with what we're here to talk about today.
No, we're here to talk about Prince of Persia,
We're here to talk about it.
1989.
I thought we were here to review it.
Oh no. Oh
Oh,
no, my
no?
friend. We
No?
do not review games. We are
Oh.
just going to have a book club style
Oh.
discussion of Prince of Persia.
Oh. Well, then I need to throw out this script I never wrote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't do that either.
Don't do that either. If you're joining us for the first time, there's very little planning. This is two assholes with opinions talking about a game we spent a month playing. Each month we pick two games, a long game, short game. This, fun fact, was supposed to be a long game, but the person who picked our games, Matt, put it in the short games for some reason.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I I would call this a long game.
It should have been, yes.
Yeah. There's quite a bit going on. And it it's not that the mechanics change dramatically as you go through it. They do change a little, but there's a lot to it. And there's quite a bit to unpack about it too, I think.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot to say. Yeah, I don't know why I put it into the short game when I locked stuff in, because when I look back, I'm like, no, you were always supposed to be on the long game list. What happened? Why did I
Yeah,
do that? I think I was just so excited about Might and Magic, I just
right.
grabbed the next one on the list and didn't do my due diligence. So, that said, I gave this long game time.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
So,
I was kind of glad to do it because I did play this as a kid growing up, and it definitely got me in the nostalgia.
see, I think this is interesting because we have a lot of games where we have nostalgia for them. And it's our show sometimes reminds me of the quote, I never forget, but sometimes I don't remember.
Right.
There's a lot of things we haven't forgotten, but we don't remember all of it. And so we end up with a game we held dear and then come back to it, and it's just doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
And this was a game as a kid I hated.
Yeah. Really.
Really. I hated this game as a kid. And it's such an important game. I wanted to do it for the channel anyway.
Hmm.
And I'm really glad I did because I got past the initial wall of not fun part. If you can get past this initial 10, 15, 20 minutes of initial
Totally.
play, you'll start seeing what makes the game fun.
Yeah. That's very true. And like reading the manual, I suspect they kind of figured that out because I didn't know this when I started, but there's a practice mode for Prince of Persia where you can really nail down the mechanics and not have it affect your
Hmm.
actual gameplay. You just get 15 minutes to bang around in the game world with the controls and everything.
Yeah.
I learn what you're doing because you're right. I'm sure there's tons of people who were remember playing level 1 of Prince of Persia, and that's all they remember.
Right.
Because it's not that it's particularly difficult, but it's very much a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not good at the certain thing, it's going to be a real challenge.
Yeah. And we're obviously going to tear that all apart as we go through this, but I'm going to get this playing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's show my attempts at playthrough here.
This is Broderbund? Broderbund?
I've always said Broderbund. Again, if someone in the comments wants to correct us on how it's pronounced, which I will enjoy because you have to type it out.
Right? You have to get the O with the like
umlauts and the slash, yeah. So that's why I always presumed, because it would have been Broderbund, except they like the O is special looking, so I presumed it's Broderbund.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Brazirobund.
Maybe
you think Braziro? That is now.
Yeah. We're notorious for mispronouncing stuff, so let's just go with it.
Let's just go. It's Brazirobund from here forward. Jordan Mechner was the
Jordan
developer
Mechner, most known prior to this for, speaking of mispronouncing words, karateka.
I've always said karateka. There is a video of him. Like, he pronounces it in a way that is sort of neither of those ways. And I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but it like almost Karaticha or something. Like it's like, okay, it's neither way is right.
Right. Well, anyway, he's known for it. I like this because it's so clearly is an evolutionary step.
Yes.
And it takes what was so great about that game and like does it harder and better.
Polishes the hell out of it. Like if this had been Karateka 2, and instead of sword fights, these were all ninjas and stuff, and you were karate kicking your way through, everybody would have been like, greatest sequel ever. Like, just, I mean, I'm okay with him changing the place, but
yeah. I mean, compared to that game, it's really a whole new world and a new, fantastic point of view.
Right.
Like it looks good. The animation style, like I for some reason I thought this relied on some level of motion capture, but he just like, did he do that, or I thought I read that he just like really studied, realistic animation and movement.
My understanding is it was rotoscoped, and then polished up a little bit, but it's mostly rotoscoped.
But yeah, when you first start, like that's the first thing you're going to notice about this is how it moves, and really how it moves is a large part of the game.
Yeah.
Like that turnaround he does.
Yep.
The turnaround and the potion drink are like peak Prince of Persia because they're just a tiny bit over the top.
Yeah.
In a really wonderful way. I really adore the like turnaround and the potion drink especially.
You can find video of the actor. They recorded the test shots they took for him doing the running. And it's so fun. It's so, you obviously see what's happening in the runs and the jumps and the falls and everything. And just, it works really well. If you are interested in the history, like really, really interested in the history, more than we're going to give you in the next half hour, there is a book making of that he put out, which is basically like his diary during the time he was making the game. And that's fascinating. I would recommend that. Same with the Karateka book. I think they're both good books.
He has done, like, he's written a few books. He also wrote the initial drafts of the Prince of Persia screenplay movie, which had, like, who was in that? Someone famous was in that. Who was it? It was Jake Gyllenhaal,
Yeah.
and Jake Gyllenhaal went on to say later, like, well, sometimes you do movies that aren't quite right for you, and that makes me think that maybe the movie might not be so good. But anyway,
I've seen the movie. Have you not seen the movie? I saw it in
absolutely
the
not.
theater, baby.
Oh no way! You went to the theater, huh?
Yeah.
You saw Jake Gyllenhaal in it. How was it?
Oddly, a girl I was dating at the time really wanted to see it. So we went to like this midnight showing of this movie, and I walked out and went, well, I watched that.
Yeah,
Like,
that
I
was a
didn't hate
movie.
it. I just,
Sure.
it's, it's a video game action movie. And
Yeah,
okay.
but props to him for writing it.
Yeah.
Like, good for him.
Well,
He's a
that
varied individual.
screenwriting is what he wanted to do originally, and he took a break to write Karateka and almost didn't do this because he's like, what am I doing? I don't want to make video games.
Hmm.
I want to make movies. And then was like, this is actually paying me better and doing more for me, and I'm more excited about this, and I'll finish this up, but then I'm done.
Hmm.
Obviously, no.
Yeah.
Although this did not do well when it first came out for the Apple II.
Yeah, it came into its own on DOS, didn't it?
It really did. It really did.
Did you play the Apple version?
I did give the Apple version a little bit of a try here because I was wondering. One of my big complaints about this when I was a kid, and it took me like my modern brain, my adult brain, to figure out, is that slide you see or the way he does a running jump. You have to be thinking about it a tile ahead. Like, you can see little tiles on the screen.
Hmm.
So if you want to jump, if you want to run and jump on a tile, you have to push up a tile before you get there.
Yeah. And this is like one of this I was thinking about the jumping and the way it moves a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and I was really conflicted about it because I think there's two ways that video games can make you mad. There's the way where you get mad and then you never want to play it again,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the way that you get mad and you want to keep playing it because you're mad. And this game made me mad in a way that made me want to keep playing it.
Well, this the controls are, even though they feel sloppy at first, and that's what made me hate it as a kid.
Hmm.
You realize, no, they're responsive, just not the way you think they should be.
Hmm.
You're not doing pixel perfect jumps necessarily with this, but you are, like, if you've got some momentum behind you, you have to factor that into the jump. And that's a
Hmm.
fair, it's a fair thing to ask of the player. Even though I didn't
Yeah.
like it at first, it's still a fair thing. So yeah, I played the Apple II because I wanted to know, is the DOS version's controls what was intended, or was it a problem? No, it's what was intended. The Apple II plays
Yeah.
exactly the same way. The graphics are obviously way rougher.
Yeah. And well, the thing that's interesting, the reason I say that about getting mad at a game, because when I think about the things that make me mad at games where I don't want to play them, it's stuff like getting beaten by the controls.
Yeah.
Like there's so much slopping when you jump,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you're like going for it, and you think you're doing it right, and he jumps too early, or sometimes he doesn't jump, and like usually that would make me nuts. But like that is what this game is. It's those kind of odd controls.
Right. And like I was kind of saying, it's never that it doesn't jump when you tell it to. There's just a couple frames after you hit the button that it jumps. So if you know to jump the tile ahead, once you've learned that, once you've learned where you have to jump to hit the jump you're aiming for,
Mhm.
you can do it. You just have to disconnect. You have to be telegraphing what you want it to do about a second before it does it. And it's not one of those where it's just slow read. There's momentum. So like
Right.
if we look at this, let's pause this here. Let's go back 10 seconds. So he's running down the hall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe I went too far.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start him running.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see like there are 1, 2, 3 tiles in front of him before the dead end.
Mm-hmm.
So this tile's fine. This is the tile I have to push up on
Right.
to make the jump.
Right.
And that is like, it doesn't make sense. Like, that's not where you're actually doing the jump. I don't think a modern game would build this way.
The thing I found really interesting about it is in the manual, it basically tells you, like, don't worry, he'll just jump at the end. Don't worry about being exact, which is not really true, because if you do it too early, his ass will jump early. Like, so it's what they're saying is not really true.
Mm-hmm.
What it is what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
you have to account for some amount of slop and momentum when you're making those jumps.
And it comes down to that's because of the animation he wanted to bake in. There's a heading into the jump animation that takes a step or two.
Mm-hmm.
That if you don't factor that in, so the jump is really starting here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But there's
It
a
takes
step
a long time
before the jump. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like in that case, I realized I was going to screw it up, and there I've see how he's changed his run
right
before
now
he's hit the
jump.
next.
Yep. But that's what the game is.
Right.
And it's pretty kind to you if you're cautious. Like he won't walk off if you're slow stepping.
Right.
You know, it'll shunt him over to get him under the spot where he needs to jump to pull up. So like it's trying to bridge the gap enough, and it's largely successful. But I gotta tell you, when you pair that way of managing locomotion with the mechanics of the level restarts, the save game, that can be very, 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 very agonizing. And like at the end of, I think it's the end of level 2, you get all the way through this fucking level, and then there's this kind of hard jump and a kind of hard jump back.
Yeah.
And if you get bit by like the controls not being exactly as clean as you want them to be at the very end of that level, man, that is rage inducing.
Yeah. There's a couple places like that where it's just like, there's a spot on level 3 too.
Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And there's another place where you have to do a run and catch to hang. And I didn't know that you should be necessarily holding on to the action button in the jump.
Right.
So I was running to make the jump and not making it. It took me sort of an accidental like climb down where my guy kept swinging because I still had the button held, and like, oh, I get it now.
But the thing that makes it worth it are those moments where you make a mistake and then you catch yourself because those mechanics exist. That's a fantastic feeling. And like when you save your own bacon that way, it's so good.
And that's what I was going to say. This game, we talk about those mechanics that like you might not catch it on the first pass through. But this game ramps up what you need to do each level in a way that helps you never feel like you've had too much information thrown at you at once. You feel like you can parse out, there's something new I might need to do here because my old ways aren't working.
Right.
This recording is a lot of me learning combat, by the way. Like I didn't know you could block yet. I hadn't read the instructions when I recorded this. And then I read and I'm like, you can block the sword? Oh my God, this changes everything.
Yeah. This game is tricky because it feels intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
But really you do need to take a break and read that manual because like it does things kind of weird. Like you
Yeah.
can't save till level 3 for some reason.
I am baffled. Okay, let's step back. Let's step back a second.
Mm-hmm.
Prince of Persia. The goal and gameplay of the game. You have 1 hour to navigate your way through, was it 15 or 17 levels?
It's a lot of levels.
It's a lot of levels. And you have to get basically through them all in an hour. And if you die, it sends you back, but it doesn't refund your time.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to really hoof it to get through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And with 17 levels, and then you get through and you win. And it's platforming, maze exploration, and a little bit of fighting
Mm-hmm.
to get you through the whole thing. So that's the game. A little bit of puzzle solving. The puzzles are very light, but they're there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't let you save for the first 2 levels, which for some reason when I started, I thought it was 5 levels. And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. You got to get past the halfway point before it lets you save. I don't know why I thought it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, But when I started playing, this was another one of those things that I didn't even know till I read the manual. Because I had just sat down and played it, and back in the day didn't have the manual. I presumed I had to do all the levels without saving. I didn't know saving was a thing.
Right. And it's like Control G or something
Right.
to save, or some weird keystroke that you would never guess.
Right. And since you can't do it for the first 2 levels, and it isn't like can't save, it just does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even realize that's why or what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But since level 1 and level 2, once you know them, they're short.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's 17 levels to get. You got to get done in an hour, and you can probably do it in 45 minutes, which means it's 2-3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes for a level towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like these aren't. You don't have to spend a lot of time on these levels once you know them. So why bother
with the time limit?
With the time limit,
I'm very mad about the time limit because I think it just robs you of a lot of the experience. They should have just let you save or given you level codes like like Lemmings or whatever.
Yeah.
That would have been fine. I don't like it. The first time I picked this up. I played the full hour. I ran out of time. I got to like level 3 or maybe 4. I don't remember, but I didn't get far at all.
Right.
And it's not cool because
that's where I figured it out. That hang right there. That was my
hang.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get to level 3 like 4.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good then to have to start over again. And so much of the game is figuring out the path you need to take because it's like this if this then that. Like first I have to go right to open this door so I can go back and that takes time to figure out. So like they're basically mandating that you play through this thing several times because you need to have that information or be exceedingly lucky, which I am not.
I would have rather there have been no save at all.
And just do the levels.
You have to every time start again. With a game that, like, if you're going to have an hour time limit on it, screw it. Don't bother saving. An hour is a reasonable amount of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, plan that you're going to have to sit down and spend half an hour playing a game. That's a reasonable expectation of a person who wants to sit down and play a game.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone's going to be okay with that, but whatever. Or, like you said, take the time limit away. The time limit, I don't feel like it adds anything to the game.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to get rid of the lives. Like
Mm-hmm.
in Karateka, when you die, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
In this, you can die and you're not done.
Right.
But
Yeah, what I think is interesting about him and these two games is that they have a lot of kind of interesting storytelling mechanics. Like both of them, you have these kind of interesting cutscenes, and in this one, Jafar, who's the bad guy,
mm-hmm.
uh, like conjures this hourglass, and that kind of like sets the tone for you having to do it in an hour, and like it's interesting from like a storytelling perspective the things that he does with both of these games really.
Yeah. I think, okay, so, Monday morning quarterbacking this. What I would have done is, if you get done in an hour, cool, you're done. Good ending. Everybody's happy. If you're not, you have to fight Jafar. Because
Sure.
he's there, your hour's up, he's returned. Now you've got this extra fight before you can win. The game is harder because you didn't get there fast enough.
Sure, something like that.
Something like that. That would have been, it still would have given you the time limit and the good ending. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But not penalized you for exploring or practicing or taking your time with stuff. And
Yeah.
Because as it is, when you die on a level, you go back to the beginning of that level. So, you're being reset anyway. I don't know.
Are you going to take the bait and drink this blue potion? No.
Not this pass. First pass, yes, because I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's what raises my levels. Or like life bar. There is a potion that will raise your life bar, but you do not keep it from level to level. There's another thing that I find.
Wait, you keep your life raising potions from level to level?
I didn't.
Really?
I lost my life raising thing on one of those levels. Maybe.
Oh, you just ran by it. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, you get it right here, and then for the rest of the game you have 4.
Maybe I thought I got it and then didn't.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe you died and then ran past it and forgot to get it.
Yeah.
Because that's it right there. That big like double red one.
Mm-hmm. And
Are you lost in the sauce? What do you think about?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like you got me thinking about the 4-star thing, and it just shut my brain down.
Oh, sorry. I will say, Chris.
Yeah.
This is kind of like an aside.
Okay.
But I have a couple shirts that I really love. One of them you got me, and it says "Rub Dick on Rat."
Yes.
And it's from one of the games we played because when I was a kid, I tried to do that.
Yeah.
And then I have one that says "I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way."
Yeah.
From Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
And I think both those shirts are hilarious. But I have a rule where if I'm going somewhere where I could die, I don't wear either of those shirts because I don't want to die and have people think things about me and what I'm wearing. So when these people went to work and were like, I think I'm going to wear my orange like jumpsuit with the sherbet colored cape and a purple belt, like maybe that was not a choice you should make.
Okay,
for the workplace.
So lots of thoughts on that. I don't think they got to pick. I think that's a Sultan's uniform decision.
considering how the Sultan is dressed, I think you might be right. Jafar.
Well, Jafar's not the Sultan, but yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. But no,
This,
I think that is a guard uniform.
like this guy's fine.
Yeah, this
Like
guy's fine. But
whatever.
no, I know the guy you're talking about.
He's properly accessorized and like he looks fine. You know.
I think the question everyone will be mad at me if I don't ask, though. How often do you go places you might die? And
Um.
why do you go to places you
Well,
might
if I
die?
worked in like the world's least OSHA compliant dungeon,
Fair point.
where spikes just launch out of the floor randomly, I wouldn't wear my "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way" shirt there.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think I might be kind of a nervous person because I think pretty much anytime I leave the house, I'm prepared. Like I'm like, well, you know,
Might die here.
this might be it. I didn't know you could go up here.
This was about to be one of the things I was going to say. One of the things I love, love, love about this game is there are secrets,
Mm-hmm.
and searching for them is you can figure it out, and it's rewarding. Like you saw me jumping up and hitting the ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
and tiles shook.
Right.
Like, and if you jump somewhere else on a floor, you'll see tiles on that floor shake that are going to give way, and you can go, oh, you never feel like there was a gotcha moment,
Right.
a haha, we made you die here, ha ha ha. No,
Mm-hmm.
there's never that. There are moments where you got to think fast,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have a moment to think.
Right. Right. It's quite well designed in that way. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Like anytime you jump, it'll shake any tiles that are loose. So if you're observant,
Mm-hmm.
or like sometimes on the top of the level, you can see there's like a ceiling there. Sometimes this is the guy.
Yeah.
Like, what were you thinking wearing this? It's doesn't look good.
I blend
I
in
guess
with the
it's not,
fire.
I guess so. I don't
I'm the
know.
fire god.
Yeah. Yeah, you're about to get killed.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there'll be gaps in the ceiling, and if you pay attention, like you can jump up there, and good things will happen to you. Probably,
Mm-hmm.
it's smartly
Or
designed.
it's a dead end. And that is another one of the things I think is really smartly, I screwed that up, smartly designed. Um, all of the levels have multiple paths through.
Hmm.
Some take more or less time, but they almost always have, like, if you take this path, you're going to fight more.
Hmm.
If you take this path, you're going to jump more. Some are you have to go down this road to get to somewhere else, but
Hmm.
there's usually some little snaky thing you can do
Yeah.
with little offshoots to the side, like going to get that extra, health up potion. Oh, right on my head. Going to get that extra health up potion. Is it worth the time?
Hmm.
Or should you just keep on going? Like what is more important to you?
Right. What did you think about the combat?
Obviously, it's better than Zorro,
Yeah,
and not
that's a
as good
low
as
bar.
Nidhogg,
Oh God, Nidhogg's so good.
which is a high bar.
Yes, I think it's really good because it doesn't feel like a mini game. So many games like the sword fighting in Pirates
Mm-hmm.
feels like a mini game. Here it feels like it fits in. Like it's a distinct mode, and you really do got to keep one swing ahead of the sword and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But um, it it feels nice with the game. Like it feels tightly integrated.
It feels integrated into the game. I wish there was a smidge more to it.
That's fair.
It like I didn't like fighting the guards because I often felt like luck played as much of a role as my skill.
As
And
much? I wouldn't say as much, but definitely some.
some, I mean, I got better over time, so obviously that's not
Hmm.
true. But it did, yeah. It just often I was like, I got lucky there, or I got unlucky. Usually, it's screwing up came down to bad luck often more than me doing something wrong. But
Hmm.
me doing something right was almost always skill. Like if you just tap the button, you're not going to have it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I felt largely too. Sometimes your timing's just like unfortunate and the dude is starting a move just before you ooh, just before you do.
Ah.
Nice grab. Nice grab. Um, and sometimes, and especially I think on level 3, they do it. There's like quite a bit of combat, and you can
Yeah.
skip some of it. Um, but you like kind of have to get good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have to like learn how to combat. If you don't, you're not going to finish this game.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I hope I get back to it here. I think I do. Sometimes, and I wouldn't factor this in as a gotcha moment, but there are a few leaps of faith
Hmm.
where you need to know, oh, I need to jump off the screen onto another screen. And
I
you can do things to infer that something there, but
I think I
sometimes you
know
just got to jump.
I know what you're talking about. There's this part. There's a part on this level where you have to where you were jumping that gap, right? That
Mm-hmm.
big gap,
Yeah.
and you make that jump to the door.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So I was stuck and like I figured that out by going right and seeing the walls go straight up, and then realizing, oh, I can jump over
Right.
there from up above. So there's a really nice continuity to these levels, and if you're paying attention to it, you can get feedback. But it does totally feel like a leap of faith.
Right. Yeah, because this doesn't this all the levels are contiguously laid out.
Hmm.
So going up in one spot will bring you back exactly where you think it should on the other side. But if you're used to some other platformer games, you don't necessarily know that that's true until you learn the game well enough.
Right,
And this is where I'm like, maybe there's a secret up here because I hadn't figured out yet I could jump right.
right,
So
right.
I'm like, okay, well, um, huh,
Yeah, this part was tricky, and then the jump is actually somewhat
right there,
difficult.
like, oh,
Yeah,
oh, oh,
right. Um,
because yeah, I thought maybe you got to like run, jump, 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 and then like, nope, you can't,
nope,
you can't just jump, jump, jump.
nope.
You got
You
to
got to
jump,
inch.
stop, jump.
It does a good job of making you be patient
Mm-hmm.
even when you're under stress, like that part.
And so here I hit. I was trying to reload because I finally saved at level 3, and I hit Shift L instead of Control L,
And it
which you
skips
can
the
only
level.
reload from the menu. And that's where I found out you can skip levels.
Hmm.
Now, this is interesting. So you can skip levels up to level 4. Again, like 17 levels. And it leaves you with 15 minutes to finish the game.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go from 14 or from 4 to like 15 in 15 minutes.
No.
So what is the point of this?
I have no idea. I
And only
don't.
to level 4. Like, why did you. So I can't save. anywhere before 3, and I can't skip anywhere after 4. And if I do skip, I can't finish the game.
Right. It's really an odd choice. And I assume there's something there about letting you see all the levels and stuff if you're like stuck, maybe.
Let you get past it for a second or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but
I don't know.
I will say, like, obviously didn't beat this, but I when I ran out of time and realized I wasn't going to play it again, I watched some playthroughs just to kind of see what the other levels were like. It gets kind of samey from a scenery standpoint,
Yeah.
which was kind of a bummer because the world is so cool. And like, I think it's on the next level. There's like a magic mirror, and this gets back to why I think the storytelling in this game is really interesting. There's like a magic mirror, and it like plays the magic, music, because he definitely did what's the word for it, leitmotif. It says in the manual. I don't just know that word, but where there's little trills of music that represent distinct things. Like there's a magic one, and there's like, I think, a Jafar one.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. But it'll like plays that, and then there's this mirror, and you like run through the mirror, and then your shadow guy like runs out, and then you see him later. Like stuff like that is just really smart because it doesn't add a lot, but it makes you feel something about what's going on in the game. I just really think highly of the design that he's doing.
Right. The game building, the mechanics he tries to put in, like, I think, with the exception of that loading and skipping, those are my only, I won't say complaints, but really confusing. I don't get this at all. Everything else I get. Not sure I would have done them the same, but that is a personal choice rather than a knock against it.
Right.
Like, I get it. I like the slop. Once I understood it, I liked it.
Right.
I like the combat, even though I feel like the combat can be rough, just because sometimes you just get unlucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
But God, in there I didn't time my jump.
Yeah.
I didn't time my jump.
The one storytelling element that made me crazy was those little cutscenes between levels sometimes that shows the girl. So like the plot is that you're this street rat and you're thrown in the dungeon, and Jafar's going to force this girl to marry him.
Yeah.
And he like conjures this thing, and then you've got the hour, but occasionally it'll cut back to her and she's just lounging around on pillows in front of the hourglass. I'm like, girl,
move.
You gotta do something.
Get
you gotta
up.
Help yourself. you gotta like start the silk pillows on fire and then bash in Jafar's head with the hourglass.
Yeah.
Like it's not a time to be passive,
And I'm sure someone out there just went, hey, wait a minute. Jafar's trying to force the princess to marry him so he can take over the kingdom while this guy in the dungeon is her chance at savior? That sounds familiar. 2 years before. 2 years before Disney's movie. So, no,
right.
no one stole Disney. There is some thoughts of like, did Disney take some stuff from this?
Right.
Maybe.
I've been doing my damnedest to subtly drop Aladdin quotes throughout this.
Oh, I've heard.
Yeah, like right here. Like, come on.
And then she just looks at it like, oh.
Oh, guess I've got an hour. May as well lounge around.
In the video of the like shots for rotoscoping, they bothered to rotoscope the princess. Like,
Really?
There's a woman that does all that, and then they
turns around,
and the dress flows and way her head moves and everything. And I got to admit, when you're dealing with like 24 pixels, that kind of cracks me up. Like,
Yeah.
you're not. I'm glad, because it probably gave him the timing and the sense that sort of just didn't exist for some of these games back in the day.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it would probably look inconsistent if like everyone else was.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, she's not doing a lot, which is was my objection.
Right. Well, yeah, and I think other games would have been like, close enough, like Zorro. Part of why I think the sword fighting does work is because it has been animated in from real people fighting.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like,
It's pretty simple, but it's effective.
right. I think without that piece of his games, I don't think the games would have worked.
Hmm.
I think if you just slopped a sword fighting guy who runs and jumps through these, it might have been an okay game, but it wouldn't have stood out.
Yeah. Yeah. I found this overall to be just like quite remarkable
Yeah.
and smart. The level design is so interesting, and
Mm-hmm.
it it doesn't change a lot from a scenery standpoint, and I think it would have been amazing if it did.
Right.
Uh, but even then, like every level is smart and infuriating in its own way.
Right. Until you get it, and then you're like, oh, click, 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 and you just fly through it.
Hmm.
You learn your path, you go your way through it. And that's why I know I will finish this game.
Yeah,
I haven't, but I will, because I now am invested.
totally. Yeah.
Did you use the joystick or the keyboard?
I tried both. I ended up liking the keyboard a lot more. I found the joystick to be way too irritating to use.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I tried, I really wanted to. I just
Yeah.
little anecdote story. My wife was watching me play this the first night, and like this is my third or so night of trying to get the hang of this. I'm better at it now even than then, but the first night I'm like dying at some of the first jumps. I'm just doing horrible at this. And she's like, "Do you like this game?" I'm like, "I don't know yet. I'm still playing it." She's like, "'Cause you're not good at it." I'm like, "Ow."
Yeah.
Give a man a day, jeez.
I know. I never felt like I was good at it. Like even once I had learned the way through that third level, but
Mm-hmm.
making those jumps consistently, it's one of those things that really you almost have to do perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to do, and it's multiple kinds of things that you have to do perfectly. You have to
For
know
an
the level
hour.
layout. Yep, you have to nail the jumps, and you have to do the combat. And like, I'm not good at the combat.
No.
I did get better. It's like it's not super impossible, but
Right.
you have to be consistent.
But there is time to make mistakes. Like you don't have to nail everything perfect to get done in an hour. Like you can
That's true.
screw up a few
That's true.
times and you're still going to finish this game if you are good enough to mostly do it.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I would recommend everyone play this.
sound? You want to talk about sound real quick?
Yeah, I liked the sound. I liked uh, the leitmotif thing
Mhm.
that it does. Uh, I like especially the potion glug sounds.
Yep.
Like I think it's really well designed from a sound standpoint.
I like that he doesn't feel the need to fill every moment with music or noise or something.
Hmm.
Too many games, Zorro, try to just pack that in there.
Hmm.
And since I mentioned Zorro, we should talk about Auto Duel's initial music. But
Yeah, I still don't call it music.
no, I don't know what that was. But everything that's in here fits, and it's good, and it doesn't overstay its welcome.
The sparsity of it gives what sound there is impact.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear that magic mirror music in that third level, you're like, wow, this feels like amazing. And then you see your reflection in it. Like, it's such a cool moment. Like, in fact, I think I'm going to call that my peak.
It's your peak?
I'm going to call that mirror my peak.
Okay.
Because it just appears like, Jafar's like a magic man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. And you see your shadow run off, and it's going to be back later, and you're going to have it's going to be some shit. And that to me is the best.
What was your pit then?
My pit is getting all the way through that level, the second level, doing all the fights, finally, like, not dying, fighting the orange dude, and then missing the jump because I didn't hit shift on the jump back. And it's just so annoying. It's so annoying.
My pit was literally the moment I started this up again and got to like some of the first jumps and died again. And it's just this realization of this was exactly what I remember. Oh God, I'm going to have to do a month of this. Mm-hmm. And then my pinnacle, I think, is about 45 minutes later when it clicked. The game clicked. And from that moment on, I've had nothing but fun with it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing more than just this whole, I was wrong. There is something here. And even with all, and it's not one of those, this is my only game to play, so I'm going to make it work, which might have been enough to get you past that back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But today it's like, oh no, I still want to play this. I still want to get through this and figure it out and do all this stuff. And I love that.
Yeah, it's a smart game.
It is. So you just saw me have him come down into that area with me where he walked off the edge and came down. Traps hurt the enemies too, which thank you for that. Thank you for me being able to lure them onto spikes or knock them off a ledge or any of those things. And there's one enemy you have to. That skeleton, you can't kill that.
I jumped over him and just like went around him. I didn't kill him or fight him or anything.
I wasn't able to jump over him for some reason. Like, I didn't go back. Probably could have lured him over and jumped. And again, this is one of the stronger points of the game where it lets you solve problems. It doesn't come up with a solution. It probably has one like, you could do this, but it's not going to penalize you for however you solve the problem. No, I fought it backwards until it fell off the edge and then died.
Yeah.
And like, okay, cool. You know.
That's great because I hate that fucking skeleton and I want it dead.
Right.
But I ended up just like, because like I said, that's...
Yeah. No, I was not good at fighting yet. I'm still not, but this was way worse.
If you accidentally hit down during combat, he puts his sword away and you will like shit your pants. Like, please, like, don't put your sword away.
And there are some places where if you jump wrong, like, okay, he put his sword away there because he fell. Now I got to get my sword out. Oh.
Nope.
Because it takes a stop, draw, attack. It's that you've got to factor the animation into your gameplay. And so you can jump onto a platform where you're going to fight a guy and not give yourself enough time to draw the sword. And that's not the game's fault. It feels frustrating because you're like, but it's really, by the time those situations happen, it takes a moment to draw the sword. You didn't plan where you landed. The game rewards you if you plan, punishes you if you don't, but never unfairly, never gotcha, never. And none of the... Like, I was thinking a lot about Another World when playing this.
Right. It's the same kind of feel.
To me, it's very different. Because, like, Another World, I felt like I could get trapped somewhere where if I didn't think like the director or I just wasn't getting lucky with, like, getting my shield or my combat or something, or it would put me in a combat and I wouldn't know I couldn't win it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd get mad. This, I never felt that happen.
Yeah.
Like I always knew it was within my control to keep going on. And if I didn't, I did something wrong. And I can totally live with that.
Yeah. Yeah. This gives you more information. It's interesting you mentioned it because they move similarly.
They do. They have a lot of similar. Like, people who like one will probably like the other. It's not a guarantee, obviously. But
do you remember that holographic video game from like the 90s?
there were
where you're
two,
like
but which one are you thinking of?
the one with the cowboy?
Yeah.
Like and you have to like just jump over that was like the worst implementation of this kind of movement because it was just like you're basically triggering an animation.
Yeah.
It was horrible, but it was so cool because it was a hologram.
Oh, it's a hologram. Like, this was the future. This was
Right.
how all games were going to go.
Thank God.
No.
What was the other one?
There was a fighting game.
Oh, really? Was it awful?
It was slightly better than the cowboy one, but not much. But yeah, there were two games that used that system. I'd have to look up what the other one is off the top of my head, but I remember there was a second one that slightly different, and I tried it a couple times, but yeah, I was never going to catch on.
It's like a tech demo more than a game. It was like not fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the last thing I want to say, the graphics between versions, because they do kind of all play the same. This normally we're like, before 1988, don't bother playing the DOS version because they're so bad. And this comes out in 1989 and it blows the Apple II away. And I feel like I want people to understand that literally there's this sort of switch between 1988 and 1989 where the Apple II was the pinnacle of graphics. Commodore, I guess technically Amiga was, but most of us didn't have those. So
yeah.
The Amiga, Atari ST were very good graphically, but they just didn't have the user base. So most games, Apple II, C64, PC. And then the PC, like within 1 year, a couple graphics cards came out. And that all changed.
Yeah.
The Amiga does not look that different from this.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more, but you're not able to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see the Apple one. I'm curious about it. But this is the one I played as a kid. This is what I wanted to play now.
Well, and this was the one, too. Like, he wrote it for the Apple II. That's what he started on. And he knew Apple II was end of life. But he's like, no, I've got this idea for this awesome game. I'm going to put it on the Apple II. That's the system that's near and dear to my heart. We're going to do this. And it did like just well enough that they're like, okay, we're going to try and get it on some other platforms. We're going to try and, we paid for this. We're going to try and cash in on it. And when he saw the DOS version, which he wasn't too hopeful for the reasons we just talked about, he's like, this is what was in my mind. This is the version he really was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. It moves right. It looks right. It plays right. It's.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this?
No, I think we covered it really well.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, then I am going to. So we know our long game. Might and Magic.
Yes, Might and Magic.
Might and Magic. We've been waiting a long time. This was one of the first games we put on our list. We knew we were coming to this someday.
Took us 5 years to get a Might and Magic game.
Well, you can't jump right into Might and Magic. You have to have wizardry so that you can appreciate Bard's Tale, and you have to have Bard's Tale so you can appreciate Might and Magic, because you need to see that combat evolution in that
right
thing. So. And you can't just back to back those or you'll go nuts.
Definitely true.
So here we are, finally getting to Might and Magic. And we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. I'm not gonna go too far into it.
Yeah.
Now,
our next short game.
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up, and normally I'm just like I pull it up, and then we have a little moment to talk about it, and I don't preamble at all.
Right.
There's 2 different covers for this.
Okay.
See if you can spot the differences.
Okay. Oh my. Micro fun is not a glowing endorsement, by the way.
No. Right?
Wow. Which one would you buy, Chris?
I don't know.
He's got like a squash basketball for a head, like the Globetrotters cartoon from the 70s.
Yeah. So obviously the one on the left is more of the computer version cover, and the one on the right is the Nintendo version cover.
Nintendo knew what they were doing when they changed this.
Nintendo knew what they were doing. I'm not going to lie. The cover on the left is probably more game accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, the one on the right's got like Dirk dodging bombs, and bats are chasing him, and scorpions. Yeah. And I'm not saying there's not bombs and stuff you got to worry about, but holy cow, those are 2. One is far more misleading than the other.
Thank you so much for putting both of them, because that is fucking fantastic.
Oh my god.
All right, I'm sure we'll have micro fun playing it.
Yeah, I have no idea how you're going to feel about it.
Okay.
Which, I mean, anything from hate it to love it, I have no idea.
Okay.
So,
well, I will definitely share my opinion with you.
I'm sure you will.
About a month. Most definitely.
Sounds good. All right. Any last minute thoughts? We'll probably get back to streaming again now on our off weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Which, yeah. So, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where that is in our, because we're recording these early now. So,
yeah.
Anyway, you'll probably about a week after this comes out see us record again. So.
Yeah, somewhere on the 20th, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Don't hold us to it, though. We don't even know.
We don't know.
We don't know anything.
I don't know cheese sandwich. I don't know. All right. Talk to everybody later.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.